Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Tonight, we're going to bounce around between a whole bunch of things. I've got projects galore that I want to do some Net 7 upgrades on. There's some outstanding PRs I haven't had a chance to look at. So I'm going to just kind of bounce all over the place and maybe do different things. I've also got this weird idea sitting in my head playing with Orleans and load tests and Kubernetes, and we'll see what we get to. I don't know if that's interesting to people. I've got this weird idea in my head, and I kind of want to scratch an itch. But I think we'll start with material design in XAML, and go from there because there's a lot here. Also, I've killed my background music. I'm going to try a few streams like this and see how it goes. I got a bunch of I shouldn't say a bunch. I've received feedback now probably 3 or 4 times where people have said that they find it really distracting, so I turned it off. What's up, Robert? Yes, we are starting with WPF. At least that's where I'm starting. I need the solution open and probably GitHub, and let's see, that's Orleans. We'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, so pull requests. There's a couple pull requests outstanding, like a lot. Some of these really shock me that they're causing build failures. So we got Dependabot plugged in. So for starters, we're going to start with this update icons, and we're just going to, squash merge. We're not going to think icon update. I really should change it so it auto merges. Okay, so we got a bunch of dependency updates that probably are worthwhile looking at, though a couple of these I am aware cause problems. So we'll see. This one looks like one probably needs a rebase. So we're gonna start with telling Dependabot to rebase the branch, and then we'll come back with dealing this. If it still has conflicts, we'll tell it to recreate and call it a day. But let's kind of run through these here real quick. XAML tests I'm going to ignore. Some of these I know are loosely coupled NuGets and probably need to be revved together, so we might end up just doing those manually. Now these ones here, are these identical? Same title, same user, patch 1, patch 2. Okay, so these might be different. Let's take a look. So we can approve and run that PR. That's fine. What's this one? This is the same thing. So we're going to close this. Actually, hang on. I want to actually close that PR. Closing in favor of 2961. So we will close that one out as a dupe. Close pull request. So that'll clear that out since it's just a dupe. And this one, let's see, max height. Update Windows height for better compatibility with HD screens. Oh, I see, because 720 or 768 is going to be less than 800. So forcing it in. And either way, this is just the demo app, so it doesn't bother me that much. Sure. I know a lot of people like the demo app. So assuming that passes, we'll slap the demo app label on there. And then enable auto merge, confirm auto merge. And then we'll come in here, we'll do approve, submit, easy approve, easy change. We'll let the pipeline do its thing. Okay, that'll clear that up. That'll clean that up. Fix carrot brush. Editable in combo boxes. So let's start with this. What is the issue in question here? I'm assuming this is, yeah, so open the issue. I did a bit. Came up with 2 suggestions. So based on does not follow color scheme. Familiar with it. Okay. There is a definition of carrot brush to be equal to border brush. Makes no sense to me, but probably harms nothing. Wouldn't that be better as carrot brush foreground? Probably. Let's see. Instead of asking the style to do an obscure crawl up the visual tree for a property, as was in the original PR. Yeah, I mean, this is, even though this is technically walking up the tree, it's not going to go very far looking for something that derives from framework element to grab the foreground. Couldn't we just add material design, editable? The latter seems more neat to me. Having the carrot brush follow the foreground, I think, makes a lot of sense, as that is typically what is expected in most. I'm just checking a bunch of these. That is typically what is desired. Having the carrot follow the foreground. Let's see, boom, boom, boom. So let's come in here, check the files change, border brush foreground. Yeah, so this looks good. So we're going to hit approve and approve and run. That seems reasonable. Milestone, let's milestone the issue to go with it. We'll drop the evaluation required because I agree with the assessment. And enable auto merge, confirm auto merge. Can I just say auto merge is like my favorite feature ever? Absolute favorite feature ever. Thank you, GitHub. Okay. Okay, possible fix for the missing carrot issue. So let's check these issues. I believe this one, because I briefly looked at this one. Yeah, so this is a flow direction problem, which it's not uncommon to have flow direction problems. Yeah, true. Yes, I will say I have had probably more fun than I should automating my world with GitHub Actions. And like some people, let's see, I wonder, I forgot to mention it last week. I probably should have. My company did a great talk on GitHub Advanced Security. I know it was streamed. I think they recorded it. I'll have to check. But there was a nice discussion on Dependabot, which is the thing that is responsible for spamming all of these PRs up here, right? You can see open by Dependabot. I take it a step further in that I prefer to auto merge my Dependabot PRs, like just straight up. Because when you see a Dependabot PR where it's just revving your dependency versions, if that passes your CI, do you do any more validation of that PR or do you just merge it? If the answer is you just merge it, you probably would rather the system auto merge it for you, right? Unless you are legitimately making a conscious decision about when you want those things to go. But I'll show you this lovely little thing. I believe it's here. Yeah, this little guy right down here. So on the pull request verification, there's this wonderful extra action. GitHub action, merge Dependabot. That's a tiny font. Let's make that bigger. Really tiny at the bottom. Love this thing. Absolutely love this thing. It is wonderful, 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 wonderful. I will point out there was one bug I ran into with it. Well, not with it, but on my Skuraday project. Where is... So on Skuraday, when there are pull requests, if we just go and look, you can see I had a bunch of Dependabot PRs come in. Does it show me the checks? Oh, it doesn't show me checks. Hang on, we can go over here and do it. Branches, main branch, edit. Right, so I've got 2 checks that are required for it to go through, code QL and build. Right, and it's important to note these are separate. These are separate checks that are being reported. And if we look over here, and we go GitHub workflows, you can see that by default, so when you turn code QL on, it likes to just gen you a second GitHub action. And you can leave it as the second one, or you could do like combine stuff. Like this is just a GitHub action. You can move this stuff around however you want. I choose to leave it separate because I like the setup at which it is done. The problem is sometimes CodeQL will take longer than the main check. And the problem is if CodeQL takes too much longer than the main check, this guy here, this auto merge, he's only waiting for build to finish. And build finished, and so he goes to auto merge. And then he runs right amok of the fact that when he goes to auto merge, he gets whacked upside the head and told, no, CodeQL isn't done, you can't merge. So once again, how you solve a Git Kraken action, especially C# CodeQL is so slow. Yes, it is somewhat slow, especially depending on how you have it configured. But once again, wonderful action, and you'll appreciate this, Benjamin. This guy here is an action that its purpose in life is just to wait for some other check to complete. So checks and GitHub actions are two separate things, right? You can write your own checks or even custom checks. Like you can have a check for your GitHub action that says, well, before this PR completes, some call to a web API I built has to return a 200 or whatever. Great, right? That's a thing you could do. But when you have those outside checks that you're waiting on reporting, you don't want auto merge to try to just blaze right ahead when there's outstanding checks. So if you do have outside checks beyond what's in your main workflow that you're using the auto merge on, you might consider also leveraging this guy. Wait for check. And so far my experience with it is this is one of those simple actions that does one thing and does it really well. It waits for the check to complete. Done. Right? So now my auto merge will appropriately wait for CodeQL, and then it'll also verify that if CodeQL doesn't return success, well, maybe we shouldn't keep going. We should probably stop. Stopping's good. We'll stop. So it won't even try the auto merge if CodeQL fails. Because if CodeQL fails and this guy tries to auto merge, he's going to get a merge anyway. Is this used when you don't have an action requirement on your branch protection? No, it's actually used when you have multiple requirements on your branch protections. So if we go back here, branches, main, edit, I have two checks that are required. One is build, which is coming from GitHub Actions, and one is CodeQL, which is GitHub code scanning. All right, so I've got two separate checks that are feeding into my pull requests. And I wish it would show you the checks post-merge, because it'd be really nice to show that, but I'm guessing that data doesn't get persisted. Doesn't GitHub automatically wait? Doesn't GitHub automatically wait for that then before merge, negating the wait needed on the action? No, it won't. So the auto merge feature in GitHub will wait. Yes, that one. So if you're just looking at the PR and you're clicking the auto merge button, that one will appropriately wait for all checks to complete. What won't occur is if you're using this GitHub action auto merge dependabot, this action doesn't know to wait because he's part of this workflow. He's got no concept of the other outside checks, which is what this action brings in, is information about outside checks. So the regular button in GitHub, for example, like this guy here, right? The auto merge, this guy will appropriately wait for checks. But if you try to do the auto merge as part of your action, it may not wait for checks. It may just try to go. So subtle difference in the context available to them. But yeah, if you're interested, my Scurriday project has those workflows if people want to see them. I'm slowly converging in. I keep threatening to make my .NET new templates for people, But part of what's been tripping me up is I haven't found a full solution that I'm 100% sold on. So I'm getting closer, and I probably should just do it and not worry about it. Almost feels like branch protections aren't robust enough then, if that is allowed. Well, it's not allowed. The action will run, but then GitHub will reject it. And so then your workflow fails. Time to update some actions. If only templating was a little easier on actions already. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I wish I could do. So I want to write a .NET new template with a bunch of item templates. But I almost want my item templates to be code fragments, not file level. And there's not a good way of doing that. So I haven't found a solution I like quite yet. I feel like I can get pretty close with like genning files and then linking them in certain cases. So you can share them all. So you kind of can. You kind of can. Where have I done this? I did it somewhere. Was it on my tuna waffle project? Was it here? No, there was. I did it somewhere. So you can write custom. What is the blanking on the name? You can write your own custom. Was it shared action, composite action? I'm probably butchering the terminology. Put it in a repo, and then point your other stuff at it, and that totally works. So, and maybe that's my solution to some of the confusing bits where I want different PR stuff is when you, because actually, yeah, something like this. Because when you reference an action, you're just pointing it at an owner, a repo name, and then a Git tag. But this could also be a branch name or similar. So you can have all this kind of weird stuff going. And so if you wanted, now, not always recommended, so just be aware of that. But if you point this at a branch name, like rather than v35.0, you could point this at master. Reusing workflows. This might be the thing that I'm getting confused of. Yeah, because you can just host the stuff in a reusable workflows. Yes, this is the thing I was going for. Yes. Because you can just point it at your own repo, right? So this is nesting very deep all the way in, and then this is just pointed at the main branch. So if you point it at a branch, as that branch pointer goes forward, it's worth understanding that your builds are no longer overly deterministic, because because you could get one build that works, somebody pushes to that main branch, your next build fails without you changing a thing, which is exciting. Living on the edge. But yes, this thing here, where have I used this? I've done this somewhere where I pointed it at one of my other repos in order to go through and do it, which is a decent way of sharing between them. It can be kind of a versioning nightmare though. Anyway, okay. We got PRs merging. We got PRs going left and right. It's getting all the kinds of cool stuff. Okay. I wanted to look at this possible fix. Okay. The property being set here, text box view margins, is only explicitly used in the template. Set a margin on the hint text if present. This could be useful. Or if I can just use it as a step so that I can essentially treat each action to point as a component piece that I can piece together to make more full. And that's the part I'm trying to remember if you can do it at that level. I don't remember if you can or not. There's a lot of stuff around like the templating bits where you can pull things in, and I don't doubt that it's possible. I just probably need to play with it a little bit. And I am really torn on the idea of, do I produce a repo like that for people to reference, or do I produce something that gens a template that then people can edit? Because even myself, I find that even though I will start with a default template by poaching off of one of my other repos, I do tend to tweak it a little bit. Every time I tweak it a little bit. So I almost like the idea of genning something that's a good 90% solution and then letting people deal with the other 10%. Okay. However, setting the attached property invokes a callback, which also sets the provided thickness on the... This is done... Oh, yuck. Yeah, I briefly looked at this bug, and this callback is something that I missed. Yeah. If you find a good one, Benjamin, because I've also found that I like having... I have a slightly different workflow depending on what I'm building too. That's the other part that's been tripping me up is if I'm building a library that gets produced as a NuGet package, I kind of like one way. If I'm building a WPF app, I like a little bit of a different thing. If I'm doing something composite, that matters. If I have a package where I want to add in a source generator, I want to do a little bit more to it. And those are those types of things where it's like, oh, I just want to add a source generator to this NuGet package I have. I always cringe a little bit because I know the amount of boilerplate that goes into that, and it bothers me. It's like, oh, I hate having to do this every time. It feels like this could be made easier, like simpler. Like I want to type in .NET new something and have it just do the stuff. Make it be so. Like I've contemplated even writing a little CLI tool that rather than genning a template ends up modifying your current repo by hunting out well-known things that at least my projects would have and I would be looking for. Maybe other people would like it, but it feels like a lot of times when I do those steps, I'm doing the same bloody steps over and over and over. Let's see. This, of course, a slight change in the margin of contours, but also what I believe is the root cause of the issue. After digging a bit deeper and looking where text field, I concluded the following uses work as expected without any changes for both left to right and right to left, and scaling, no scaling. Editable combo box in the data grid, date picker, time picker. This PR fixes the issue in these places. Text box, password box, combo box. When we run the fields line up page, there's now a slight difference. I think this is mainly the width of the password box that is affected and not the alignment of the hint helper content as such. I conclude this by taking a screenshot before and after, then overlaying them on top of each other. Interesting. I kind of want to get XAML test working to the point where I can point it at the demo app, because this feels like something where it could just eat that test for breakfast. The problem is okay, so tangent time, open repo. I'm pretty sure I pushed it. So I have a branch out on my fork of Snoop. I don't know what this is doing. Throw it away. Go away. Nope. Don't want to play with that. Don't want to play with that. Don't want to play with that. Up, 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 up. This guy. So I started building out a branch to make a NuGet version of Snoop, because I want the Snoop injector for XAML test. And to be clear, for people not familiar with it, that's the thing that runs when you drag this little crosshair onto your app that allows Snoop to inject in. Now, obviously, I don't care about the rest of Snoop. I just want that injector portion, because that's the real magic. Because it's the thing that starts up a thread in the remote process, points the thread at a callback inside of its library and says, hey, please execute this method within inside of that process, which is kind of a cool thing when you think about it. Being able to say, hey, please execute some method of mine inside of someone else's process, that's just mwah. The amount of fun you can have with that is innumerable. And I'd kind of like that as a NuGet package. There's an open issue on the Snoop repo where other people have asked for it. And the author has said, oh yeah, I've considered it, but you know, that's a lot of time and I don't have a use case, so eh. And I'm like, well, I have a use case. I'd kind of like it because that's one of the things that's holding XAML test back is it works really well for the one use case that I've set it up for, which is testing individual styles and controls. Great. However, I've had a couple people try to now use it as a full UI testing framework because it gives you such ingrained control over the visual tree. There's been a couple cases where people have gone, wow, I really want a UI test that can just reach in and grab, you know, this bit of the visual tree and inspect it. And it's like, and a lot of tools just don't give you that level of detail because they're going through a higher API, which is fine. They're approaching the problem as though they were a user. They are not taking control of things that a user wouldn't have access to. And maybe you want to write a test that does go in that level. So, but in order to make that work, I really have to get that working to effectively allow XAML test to jump into another process rather than be the other process. And that's the conflict at the moment, is when you try to let XAML test be that process, like it can kind of fake your app, but as soon as you start doing custom startups or anything like that with custom main methods, it no worky very well. It falls over pretty quick. And some of that is having to do with a bunch of statics in the WPF SDK, or not SDK, the WPF libraries, like the application class. You can set current once and only once and never again. First one in wins. So it gets weird because XAML test kind of wants to be first, but kind of wants to execute the other one's code, and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I looked at different ways of doing it, and it got real hacky real fast. And I decided, you know what? The injector approach is probably better because anybody who wants to do that typically doesn't care to run first on startup. What they care about is attaching to a running process and manipulating it like a normal UI test. I'm like, well, okay, fine. If that's the use case, then we can do this. Okay, so this looks good, at least on the description. I am curious to look at that page in the demo app. See, that's fine. Setter target name hint. Got it. So that moves it down, moves it down, moves it down. Okay. Oh, that's a very, very simplistic change. Okay, so what's the PR number here? 2958. Let's go to here and pull requests and 2958. Check it out. And let's just go take a quick look at that page. We burn all the way through this. We might have to do some fun stuff with Orleans. .NET Orleans has excited me recently. It's one of those things. So while that's building, okay, quick side tangent. Okay, please stop changing my thing. Thank you. Where did Orleans go? Oh, I got it over here. Boom. Okay, so .NET Orleans, for those people who are unfamiliar with it. And I'll just drop a link if anybody wants to see it. It looks so cool. It looks really cool. But it's one of those things, it's hard to justify for small samples, right? But this looks like an awesome way for building highly scalable stuff. GitHub features this week, Control K. Hang on, Benjamin. I'm going to ask you what that is in a second. But so Orleans allows you to do, like, this description I don't think is a great write-up. Like, this is somewhat highly technical in a lot of cases and calling out how this thing works. It's got a fun naming scheme that for people with any connection to farming will probably laugh a little bit. But the tagline at the top, I think, is very accurate, right? Cross-platform framework for building robust, scalable, distributed applications. And couldn't understand most of it. Yeah, that's the problem with Orleans at the moment, in my opinion, is it's not easy to see how cool it can be. So, the short version, scalable distributed applications. So I got it in my head that I wanted to build a very simple little voting app, right? And if you think about in .NET, like everybody, when they teach people threading, they usually show the simple increment problem, right? I spin 10 threads up. They all want to increment the same integer field. They all, do integer field plus plus semicolon, and you run them and you end up with a number that isn't 10, right? Maybe you get 10 and you got lucky, but whatever. Most of the time, because they're all, the plus plus is both a read, an increment, and then a write, 3 operations all in one. There's all kinds of room for threads to step on each other. Like all 5, like the first 5 all read the same value of 0. They all increment 0 to 1 and they all write it, right? And so you've technically run 5 times. You tried to increment 5 times and you got 1, which is not good. And I was starting to think about wanting to build a little voting application, and that same problem started creeping in, right? So in .NET, the simple fix for that is make the increment count atomic, meaning rather than it being 3 operations, make it be 1, so that there's no way for another thread to jump in. There's a nice class, interlock.increment is the method. Have fun with it. It's great. But when I started thinking about this, I'm like, it's kind of the same problem, but at a much bigger scale, right? Like if I put up a poll and told, 1,000 people to all vote, I want to increment all of I want to take in all of those votes and, increment the poll appropriately as people vote for things. But I want to start doing that at scale, right? Like the naive approach is, okay, well, I write a very simple, API endpoint. It takes in the request for the user to increment. It has to do some sort of distributed lock to make sure that somebody else doesn't come in, right? And emphasis on distributed lock because I'm talking about something that scales out to multiple instances. This isn't going to just run in a single instance. It locks it, does the increment, unlocks it, and away we go. And I'm like, well, that kind of gets yucky. And that feels bad. And I don't like that. And then I was poking around I'm like, this is a solved problem. People do distributed computing all the time. There should be an easy thing. And I was reading on Orleans and I'm like, oh, look at this lovely thing that they have pre-built a whole bunch of samples. And hello, what do we have here? They have pre-built that exact app for me. And I went, okay, great. Okay, this is awesome. So now I have this idea in my head of I don't have to solve the complicated distributed problem, right? So just like in C# where we had the threading all trying to increment it, the same thing applies at, we'll say, infrastructure scale, right? Where I've got multiple, servers. They're all taking in inputs from users. They all need to do writing and whatnot. I don't want to think about that. I want to send the operation in and say, somebody else handle this, right? Just like I do the interlocked increment. I don't want to think about what it's doing under the hood to make sure that increment operation is atomic and dealing with low-level CPU instructions and yada, yada, yada. That's way too much work. Too much work. I want to say, please increment this and do it, correctly and move on. So they've built out this lovely little sample and it looks slick. And it's built on Kubernetes. And so the itch that I want to scratch at some point is figuring out, one, I want to stand this thing up. I want to stand it up on a low-level cluster, and then I want to load test the snot out of it to see how much load it can take before I overwhelm my cluster. That's what I would like to do. Because so there's a couple things I want to do is, one, I'm curious how much load something like this can take on a really cheap cluster. Because I don't doubt I can overwhelm it. That like small level VMs underneath the cluster, at some point you hit hardware restrictions and you just like fall over. But I'm curious where that point is. Is that 1,000 users voting? Is that 10,000 users voting? I don't know. I want to try it. And then I'm also curious, how much is that going to cost when I pound on the cluster that hard? Don't know that either. So we're going to find that out. And I don't know when I'm going to do this, but I want to do it, and it looks awesome. So I might also we've got a wonderful load test extraordinaire where I work, and I was telling him about this idea. He was pointing me to resources. I might try to trick him into helping me. We'll see. He's been on my stream before. Mike, he's wonderful. He's smart. We like Mike. Okay. Something demo app fields lineup. Oh, right. Control K. You were telling me. Control Play is essentially a command prompt, lack of better term, to navigate around GitHub. Still getting used to it. Oh, hold on. Oh, I have not seen this. Benjamin, you have made my day. Oh, this is fun. Type. Copy branch name. Oh, search. Oh, this is cool. Oh, yes. Okay, because you've seen me do this way too many times, right? Where I middle click this icon to take me back to my home screen, and then I filter my repositories. And what you're telling me is I can just go, no, Control K, backspace because I'm all the way in there, and I just go SC, and I jump down to Skirday. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. I'm going to love this. Okay, Benjamin, you win the internet for tonight. Thank you. That is awesome. Okay, for anyone who missed it, Control K is freaking awesome. When did this come out? Like, is this... Command palette. That's probably the thingy-mabobber. GitHub command palette. When did you search the web? It's still in feature preview. Oh. Public beta and subject to change. That's why there hasn't been a blog post about it. Oh. Interesting. Okay. If anybody wants the docs page, there it is. Oh, I apologize. Here is the docs page without a language specifier. Sweet. I like it. Awesome. GitHub, you make my day. Okay. Now that I've been thoroughly distracted, fields line up. Okay, and the comment was specifically around the password box, right? That was the... Just make sure I got this correctly. There's now a slight difference. I think it's mainly the width of the password box that is affected and not the alignments of the hilt. I concluded this by taking a screenshot. Okay. And I'm less concerned about a small difference in width. I'm mostly concerned because the whole point of this is we had various bugs that came about because people were putting all of these input fields onto forms. And when your form doesn't line up, like there's a basic premise in UI design where if you logically draw vertical lines, like you can imagine there's a vertical line along the left edge here. There's a vertical line along the left edge here. You just kind of start taking the edges of your controls and draw vertical lines on them. And the fewer vertical lines you have, the cleaner your UI tends to be, right? This is a rule of thumb, not a hard and fast thing. Guideline. That's what we're going. I am noticing this date picker thing seems off. Same with the time picker, specifically the filled one. Why are these ones up here and these other ones are in line? That's a fairly minor thing, and I don't think related to this change. But Okay, looks good to me. As far as I'm concerned, that is... The text is also slightly more justified. Oh, let me look at that. Oh, you're talking about the one that's off. Yes, though I think that might be the filled ones. That is that indent is intentional. And I guess this oh, these things are fixed width, aren't they? They are. Dang it. I was going to say, I'm guessing this and this are actually the same height. The difference is the internal padding on this control is different. So they seem further apart. And I suspect that's the big difference here. These distances should align with the Material Design 2 spec. But, I mean, things like padding are hard to find exact rules on. And like for these cleaner ones, you want them without any padding, and these filled ones you want with padding. Otherwise, things look like crap, right? Because if you drop the padding, this thing bumps right up against the edge and looks horrible. Whereas this thing without the filled or the border, it actually looks cleaner if you don't have it. So those defaults are somewhat intentional. I'm mostly interested in just looking at the horizontally going across rather than vertically checking them. And horizontally, I think things look very reasonable. Because typically on a form, when somebody's going to use these, they're going to be picking one set, not like you don't generally have a form where you're mixing floating, filled, and outline. That just looks weird. Like I usually tell people, the demo app is designed to show you the breadth of what is possible. Please don't put everything in. Like your app will look like crap. Don't do that. We try to show everything that is possible, but in general, most apps you should like pick a style and go with it, right? You know, maybe different screens do different stuff or whatever, depends on your app, but don't take the UI in here as indicative of a good design. It is designed to show the breadth of stuff. Also, oh, Nikolai, you're in the chat. This is good work. I really appreciate it. And also, I really appreciate the huge amount of PRs you've been doing recently. Like, it is absolutely amazing. I apologize. I have not been keeping up with them. Okay, that goes there. Ba-ba-bum. Hold on. Did I move the issue? I did not. I need to move the issues in. Dang it. I gotta go fix that. Wait a minute. Show it to me. Why is it all the way down here? Oh, is it showing? Oh, it's probably showing it in chronological order of when they were opened. GitHub, I would prefer if it showed them in order of when they were closed, not in the order they were opened. Thank you. That's good. That goes there. That goes there. Boom, boom, boom. Should probably prep a 4.7 release at some point. Okay. Boom. This one, I think we had a discussion on in the chat. Yeah, this is the same one. Okay. So, pretty sure this is just going to be a removal of the one thing. Great. Prove and run. And then that should be just the removal of the one setter. Great. Great. Also worth noting, anybody bumping into this issue, the other workaround for this, so things like max width, maybe I'll show this real quick. Let's see, where's the tab? Blah, blah, blah. T, tab. There we go. I can spell. So if you ever run into an issue where an underlying style is setting something on you and you want to remove the assignment, right? So something like max width, the simple hack for this, and you can getting the kids ready for school and kindergarten, certainly catching small bitch. We'll watch it all later. No problem, Nikolai. Was just complimenting your work. Okay. So F12, wait for Visual Studio to catch up. Right? So if you then jump, so this is the property itself, but if you look at the dependency property declaration, oh, come on. Really? Really? You suck. Probably an easier way. Okay. Other option, we're going to go here. We're going to go F1 instead. And you are going to magically open a browser to the right page and everyone's going to be happy. Hoorah! There we are. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. What I wanted to show me is the default, which is nan. Caps lock. You are not helpful. This is not helpful. This is not helpful. This is not helpful. Okay, I was kind of... But this is a sucky demonstration. Okay. Back to here. The other way you handle this, right, is you do x.static double dot, no, not double animation. Stop helping me. Nan. Right? And then this guy here goes autocode. Come on. Don't you just love it when your tools fall apart? Okay. XML namespace. I would like the system namespace, please. CLR namespace system. Thank you. Okay, then I would like to use system double nan. There we go. So this, because double properties inside of WPF, like some of these tend to default to either nan for unset or infinity for infinite, right? But if you want to unset it, because it's like, well, how do I unset a max width once it's been set? For pretty much, I think, trying to think if there's any exceptions to this. I'm pretty sure all double properties that I'm aware of on the built-in controls, either one of the infinities or nan will be their default value, occasionally 0. Trying to think if there's any cases where that isn't true. I think all of those are true. So there's always a double value you can assign into it. And if you want to access those statics, all you do is bring in the system namespace with something like this. And then you could do system : double.nan. Worth noting, you have to do the BCL type name, not the C# keyword. Right? So in C#, we would probably use lowercase double. In because XAML doesn't know anything about C#, it doesn't know anything about C# keywords, you have to use the actual type name. So for like int, you end up doing int32, right? So if you ever need like int's max value, you have to reference it that way. You can't just type lowercase int. That no worky. Don't do that. So worth knowing, but a hack that will be no longer needed after this one merges. Great. Okay, so uniform style. This is looking amazing. There was a little bit of back and forth. Perfect. Great. Yeah, Michael is decided to clean up the entire demo app, which, as you can see, is no small task. A very welcome change. Okay, so let's clean out some of these other ones. So that one's going. Now we've got all of these PRs in here, and I want to know why some of these failed. So clear there. Okay, so why did you fail? Show me your failure. Build and test. Detected package downgrade. Yeah, so this is one of the limitations of Dependabot right now. Limitations is when it detects a package upgrade, it revs it. The problem is, if the NuGet packages don't have direct dependencies on each other, and inside of the Microsoft Code Analysis NuGet packages, they very intentionally did not do strong coupling because they like swap them out depending on, well, this is C#, this is VB, right? There's all that kind of weird stuff. So if you look at the dependencies on these NuGet packages, you won't find a direct dependency. So Dependabot has no idea that these things need to go together. Like, it does it, like, it'll look at actual dependencies, but if things aren't dependent on each other, it goes, I don't know. Like, how was I supposed to know those things went together? So I suspect a couple of these are as simple as, so these two I suspect are as simple as just a PR and Revit. So let's go and do that manually. So we're going to clear that, master, reset, create branch, NuGet, update, Okay, so let's go here, and then, ooh, I'm trying to remember. Can I do this now? I think I can do this. Do I get away with this now? I think I do. So the only reason I'm pausing is because this project uses a directory packages.props file. So if we look at like the main package, normally you see all of the, well, that's probably a bad example. Let's look at the demo app. It's got a lot more stuff on it. Boom, demo. Yeah. So normally what you would find is you would see package references, and you would see package references with version stuff on them. When you use the, I'm trying to remember what this is called. There's a fancy term for it, and I'm blanking on it. Hang on. Oh, that's the Orleans one. This one. Boom. There. Let's go here and let's go here and there. That'll be better. Centralized package management. That's the word we're going for. This guy. This is the guy. Okay. This was in preview for like 2 years. And I switched over to it when we dropped Packet in favor of using this because it gave us similar behavior, right? So you manage the versions of all of your packages in one place, and then all of the other projects in your solution, they just declare which packages they're using, but you deal with the versions up here, right? That way you don't have this case of things getting out of whack. And most people work around that with the tooling directly, right? So they open up the NuGet Explorer on the solution and go, okay, let me go through and deal with that, which is fine. Great. That works. But doing it this way separates it and then lets us manage it in one place. And I thought, yes, that there was now support for, I'm going to close all these down. I thought there was now support for editing that package directly. And I want to confirm that, yes, the UI now appropriately recognizes the file and updates it. Okay, so we're going to build. And assuming this thing builds, we're just going to ship it. Well, we're going to push a PR for it. And we're going to let it go. And then the next thing I wanted to do is actually rev for net 7. So I think we still have, we don't have net 5. And there's not a direct need to go to net 7. So just to clarify, there is nothing in .NET 7 that this library actually needs. However, you can pick up, there's a lot of performance improvements that have occurred in .NET 7. So having a .NET 7 specific build will likely perform a little bit better. Just from all of the improvements that the C# and .NET teams made. So we are not dropping support for anything, but I think what I might do is add a net 7 target to the NuGet package so that if anybody is building an app targeting net 7, they get something that was built targeting that and can reap all of the benefits thereof. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so if that's going to go. Great. Oops, didn't see that. Pretend like you didn't see that. I thought I cleared all the windows off my screen. Sometimes I don't do a good job of that. Okay. Okay, so that did build. So it is just the revving of both packages. Updating NuGet packages. And the nice part is Dependabot is very respectful. And when it sees the PR or when it sees the merge come in, it'll automatically close its own PRs and say, oh, looks like you took care of this already. It's like, yes, I did. Shut up. Go away. And it clears it and disappears. Updating packages that Dependabot doesn't realize need to go together. And really, these packages in question aren't going to affect the library directly. They're used by the tooling that gens up the C# code. So it builds up like the icons stuff. So if anything breaks, it's going to be the nightly icon builds. So, yeah. Not a huge deal if those go through. Okay, so that should have a PR open now. I didn't click the button, but it should be a PR. Yay! Okay, so we're gonna slap you in the milestone. We're gonna enable auto merge, confirm auto merge, and then yay. Self-approve. Oh, can't self-approve. Boom, boom. Okay, so that should go here in just a moment. Okay, so net 7ing the stuff. So let's net 7 some stuff. I'm going to go back to master. Create branch. Net 7. Yay, boom, branch, done. Okay, so couple things we want to do. Now, it is very tempting because we've already got like a directory build props file and all of that to try to go through and to try to set your target frameworks in your directory build props file, right? Because this looks like a value that's like, oh, I want to share that across all my projects, which is true. Resist temptation. So this is one of the few properties that you probably do not want to move into a shared project. And part of the reason is this is used by MS Build to figure out a lot of its other stuff. And so if you get into a bit of a circular reference where putting it in the build props file just straight up doesn't work. So you end up getting bit. But I think what we're going to do is go net 7. Let's see, Windows, because we're a WPF app, so we need that. We're going to do that. We're going to copy that. And I did see one other thing I want to rev. Lang version 11. We're going to do all the things. I don't know why we have configurations debug release. That's not needed. That's default. I might have to look up error report because I think some of these things may be coming as a result of this project initially didn't use the SDK format. And so we ran it through the upgrade tool, which does a great job, but sometimes you get a couple extra things floating around that's like, well, I don't technically need that. We're going to rev this up too. This doesn't matter as much because it gets overridden by the build process. So, not a big deal. Okay, so we're going to slap on a net 7 onto all the things. And then with any luck, this thing A just straight up builds net 7. Format U while we're in here. Yep, that's fine. I don't care. We're going to just do all of these. It's actually convenient that the next release of this library is going to be a 4.7. There'll be some symmetry there. The punny nature in me approves. And I think I'm just going to rev the UI test straight to net 7. The UI test, I don't feel the urge to cross-compile on. Because if they're going to fail on one, I have yet to see a bug where it passed on, say, net 7 and failed on net 6. Because they're UI level tests, it's just really unlikely to have that kind of bug. So I'm not overly concerned about it. Plus, they take a little while to run already, and I don't want to make them even, like, slowing them down for the purpose of being uber checking all the things doesn't seem like a great idea. Okay, so there's that, there's that, there's that. Okay, one, does it build? Hopefully our Net 7 thing just works. Let's see. The SDK does not support targeting Net 7. Oh, hang on. See, this. Hang on, I don't remember what the min version is. Let's see. 70100. So we're gonna go there. Right? So step 1, you can't compile Net 7 when you are targeting Net 6. That doesn't work. Shocking. Let me rephrase. You cannot build a project targeting Net 7 using the .NET 6 SDK. You can build a project targeting the Net 6 SDK with targeting Net 6 using the .NET 7 SDK. That is legit. Okay, so the world fell over. There's only 1,300 errors. The nice part is we probably actually don't have that many errors. We probably have one error, and it's being obfuscated. So we're going to just back this thing up. So step one, compile the lowest project in your solution. Get that one working. I may just need to restart Visual Studio. Okay, so 1, colors built. Colors test. Okay, that one built. WPF project. Okay, WPF project built. WPF tests. I have a feeling I just needed to rebuild these things after making that global.json change. I have a feeling that's all it was. Sometimes Visual Studio is not great at letting go of its stuff. Okay, so all of those projects built. That's pretty easy. You should build because you don't have any dependencies on the other stuff. Great. Okay, demo app. Let's start with the main demo. Rebuild. And so then there's going to be just a couple pipeline-y changes to make sure we get all of this stuff. Ba-ba-ba. What are we targeting? Prefer 32-bit is not supported and has no effect on NetCore app. Yeah, that's we're probably setting the prefer 32-bit because we're still targeting framework 2. I could conditional it out, but yuck. I don't feel like doing that. That sounds like work. Especially when it's a warning on a demo app. Be nice to do, but because I'm willing to bet it's right. Prefer 32-bit. So we could likely suppress the warning by filtering and saying only apply this when we're targeting net 472, but whatever. Okay. Okay, Material Design 3 demo compiled. So short version, the upgrade from net 6 to net 7 is Revulang version, assuming you're setting it. Add the target framework. Done. For anybody who cares, I revved Skuraday earlier today. You'll note my net 7 upgrade was horribly complicated. It involved setting the 6 to a 7 and then revving a couple NuGet packages. Revving the 6 to a 7, and then I changed my version number just because. It is that level of easy. So Okay, so all of that builds. Great. Okay, so now we got to do a little bit of work here. Little bit of work here. Ba-bum. Okay, so the nice part is I have consolidated this into a single location. So we're going to do 7.x to make sure we pick that up. Ba-bum. That should all work there. This is going to need to be a 7 now. Okay, that's all fine. The building of the artifacts, I think, has the version numbers in it, but I could be wrong. We may have... Oh, I might need to check the build nougats. That's all fine. That's all fine. I went through a lot of pain and suffering building this at one point. So hopefully I did a decent job so I don't have to deal with it anymore. Okay. That goes there. Icon update. This is going to need to be 7 now. Because this MD resource gen, this is the one that's actually using those Roslyn compiler packages. You know, creates a PR. Huzzah. PR verification is going to use the same build and test. Great. Everyone loves that. The release one. I assume you are going to do all of the same stuff. Yeah. Needs check for changes. Fetch depth. All of that stuff. That's great. All of that looks like it works. So, last up, we need to add it to the new specs. So at some point in time, I will probably get motivated enough to convert these things away from new specs files directly and build them from the CS projects. Today is not that day. Okay, so we're gonna go there. Why are you indent? Oh, you're probably indenting because hang on. Open with source code editor. I want new specs treated like XML files. NU spec, right? Yeah. I want you treated like an XML file. Now when I go format, thank you. Muchos better. Muchos better. Okay. The one thing I didn't see is the bit to push up the demo app. Oh, that one probably doesn't matter. Because when we push up the demo app, yeah, we're just grabbing it. We're grabbing it a level above the target framework. So we're grabbing everything out of bin release, for example. So so if it's built with multiple targets, all the targets get picked up. Great. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. So we want to add a group for 7. Slap this thing in. Net 7. Net 7. And then we're going to do the next ones. Let's do them in order. Okay. Again, there's very little reason that these need to be different. Sorry. People are messaging me. Okay, so this goes here, this goes here. You'll note these versions will end up getting replaced. Some people have asked questions about, well, how does this work? I did realize the other day, and we should probably fix this. It's probably not a big deal because these ones are expected to rev together. But there is a general guideline that says don't set a upper bound on your NuGet versions. So we should probably clear those while we're in here. Probably. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, so what do we got going on here? So this is grabbing it from there. We want to put it inside the lib directory. All of this stuff, this is just packaging the fonts. This is packaging our build stuff and the extra tools. That's all great. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. My boss is asking me interesting questions. Don't worry, they aren't completely work-related. It's why I'm answering them at 10 o'clock at night. Okay. So, yeah, but like these changes here where we're setting a max version on the MAApps bit. Okay, so we're going to go here. So let's clean up the max versions in this real quick. Well, hang on. Before we do that, let's make sure we can build our NuGet packages, because that's kind of an important deal, right? And in case it's not obvious, the easiest way to see is we go here. This sets up a bunch of versions. One of these guys, is it build and test? Do you do it? Build, test, upload screenshots, push artifacts, must do it. Yeah, so here's the magical incantation for building the NuGets, right? So you'll note scripts, build NuGets PS1. This script here gets fired off with these version numbers. That's the sum total of the magic. So we're going to go here, and I'm in the wrong directory. That one. Yeah, that'll work. Paste, and we're going to do 9999 so I can disambiguate them when I see them. Also makes for an easy search. 9.9. 9.9.9. Build. Oh, right. That's not going to work because it expects to already have a release build already done. .NET build configuration release. Oh, right. And I have to specify the solution file because there's more than one. .NET build. What is the name of the solution file? Material design toolkit full.sln. There. Build. And away we go. And hopefully here in a second, these warnings will drop off because I'm guessing those other PRs are going to complete and we're going to just magically, I should see the master branch walk forward here in a minute. I hope. Hey, look at that. Yay, master branch. Okay, cool. That will rev up to there. Net 7 will be awesome. We can have Net 7 all the things. Come on, compile. Build my solution. Build. Okay. Now build me some NuGet packages. Pretty please. Okay. So the note for me, when it builds the NuGet packages, it drops straight in. Yeah, a stable release of a package should not have a pre-release dependency. Yada 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 yada. We're gonna clean up those base versions here in a second. Let's see. Explorer at that directory. Pretty please. Okay, so I have packages. So let's double click them. So for people who haven't seen it, so NuGet Package Explorer, you can actually get NuGet.org. And what is it? What is it? Where is the... There's a way to get straight to the Package Explorer from here. I can't remember. NuGet Package Explorer. Boom. So you can get it from the store, but there is also, yeah, this guy. Oh, that's not it. The Package Explorer. There is a web version. Go to the package you own. It's on the right, I think, to get to the web version. Thank you, Bruce. That's what I was looking for. I knew it was in there somewhere. So there. Open a NuGet Package Explorer. That's the guy. NuGet.info. That's okay. Right? Cancel. I don't actually want you to load because I actually want to just go to here. There we go. So here's where you can search for packages, and you'll also note you can go open, and then I can go dev, and then I can go material design and XAML toolkit, and then I can come down here and I can open up this way. So if you don't want to install anything, you can go this route. Like this is a legit option. So you can see the stuff it builds. You can see if there's any potential issues. It's wonderful. Everyone's happy. View metadata source. You can see all the builds. Okay, so the fact that it built is a pretty good indicator that everyone's good there. Now, the one I am more interested in is, so you can see these dependencies. So .NET Core 3.1.6, yay, we now have 7. Huzzah. And it's basically just picking those up based upon well-known directories underneath the lib directory. And then images is only here because you have to embed the icon for your NuGet package in it. There is an older way of doing it where you pointed a URL. That has gone away. Okay, so for example, the Ma apps one is the more interesting one. So the dependency is, so here's my thinking. Because you can see here, the script automatically does this for you. And I am struggling to imagine, because the colors and themes package, like these things all rev together. Like at one point in time, there was this idea that we might rev them independently. I don't think we've revved them independently in 4 years, 5 years. I've seriously contemplated merging them into a single NuGet package. And then I think, well, maybe I will rev them independently. And I've never done that. But it is still recommended from NuGet to not set a upper bound. So I'm thinking we do the same thing, is we not set upper bounds on these. And I do not know why only framework is bound on this alpha. That should be fixed. That is almost assuredly a bug. So we're going to clean all of these up. So let's start here. And you'll note it did rev these. Oh, I forgot my script edits those files. Yuck, 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 yuck. Big sigh, big sigh, big sigh, big sigh. Oh, colors is fine because there are no dependencies. It's going to be this one that's, yeah, you'll note this guy here that it did. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to change the script such that it doesn't do this. Okay, so I think what we want to do is I would like to change this. So 0.0.0. I think I want to change this so that it's clear that these aren't real values. And then I think I want to change them to just be a min version. I think that's what I want to do. And I think we want to do this as well. Where we clear this, clear this, clear this. Because this one isn't being edited. And then we're going to go in and fix the script that's replacing these so that it doesn't do the badness. But we're going to do a quick commit before we get too carried away. So let's go here too. So I'd like to replace all of these with 0.0.0 and go. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why this one has an alpha set on it. That's wrong. And I think we just want to do this. Basically, if MaApps puts out a 3.0 version, there's no reason to set an upper bound unless we know that there is a problem with compatibility between our library and that. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to do that. And let's fix this thing that's doing the replacement. Blah, 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 blah. Get version string. Yeah, so it's doing this next version garbage. And I don't want to do any of this. I want to do 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 this. And I don't need a callback anymore. And get version string now just becomes version. That's even easier. That's even easier. This function now dies. All right, just make sure it's unused. Good. Clear that. Clear that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now, before we run it, we're going to make a quick commit and do a little git action here. Okay, so let's just double check our stuff real quick. So that's expected. That's expected. Directory build props, all of that's expected. Global.json, that's expected. Editor config, that's expected. Let's see, demo app, add 7.0. Add 7.0. Now, I will apologize to everybody working on this library. Every time I do this, I get flack from somebody. So I'll apologize now, but sorry, not sorry. So directly in the docs, we did write up a thing. This library will always use the latest dev tools from Microsoft. And the only downside to using the latest dev tools is it means that if you are still on an older version of Visual Studio or similar and cannot upgrade for some reason, you will not be able to compile from source. Now, you can go download the free version of Visual Studio and compile from source on the latest version. That is still an option available to you. The NuGet package will clearly still support older versions of .NET, at least as long as Microsoft supports them. I make no promises that I will support a version of .NET after Microsoft stops supporting it. So that I will not guarantee anything on. But, okay, that's good. That's good. So for everybody who hasn't updated your Visual Studio who's working on this project, now's the time. Or at least when this PR merges, that will be the time. Okay, stage that. Let's see. We don't need this icon. Basically, part of what that script does is it actually grabs the appropriate icon file and downloads it locally so that I can build the NuGet package. 1 second, Bruce. I'm going to look at that in just a second. Okay. I need it because these new specs I need to take a look at. So this line I want to discard because that's done by the script. This line I want to discard because that's done by the script. I just want this. Okay. Let's see. Stage. Actually, I want to stage all of this. Yeah, all of this I want to stage. I want to discard this line. I want to stage this line. I want to discard this line. And I don't care. The empty white space at the end is not bothering me. And let's go here. Stage selection, discard line, stage, discard. Okay. Super side note: the wait action you have in the code queue before auto merge. Just saw that auto merge might be able to just use GitHub's auto merge to merge. Haven't tried it, but might be another way to play with GitHub a little nicer. Oh, interesting. So let's check that out. Oh. Hey, that's a cool idea. Yeah, this is actually probably better than the solution I put in. Thank you. I am putting this over here to go back and save that later. I will give that a try because that would be really convenient. Because it bothered me when it failed, and I did not even think to look at the here. Well, I guess you put the link in the chat, so anybody who wants to see it, the link's in the chat. That would be a much cleaner solution. Thank you. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so the whole reason for doing this now, stage. I'm not gonna say updating. Adding .NET 7 target. Also updated to use latest tooling. So we are going to make this commit, but we're not pushing this yet. So I would like to, okay, so hold on. Local branches, expand. I got too much stuff open. I got to clear some stuff. So delete branch, don't care. I got a lot of branches that need to die. Delete branch. Okay, so really all I wanted to do was that. Okay, so master is now pulled up, and then I would like to rebase onto it. Okay, and now the only other thing I may need to do is update the README. Let me double check that. Just search for the number 6. How many 6s are in here? Not enough. Okay, so that's all good there. So all of the docs related to building this are probably in the docs section on the wiki. Let's see here. I feel like this sidebar changed recently on its layout, and now it's bothering me. Let's see. Project fails to build. There is a compiling from source. Let's see. Darknet 452. Visual Studio. This is the page I want to edit because this needs 7.0.1. Visual Studio, various framework 452 and 472 SDKs installed. That is still true. It's fixing my grammar. Sure. C# 11 compiler. 17.4 or later. Specifically. Because if we go help about... Yeah, because I'm on 17.5 preview, which means current release is 17.4. 7.0 SDK. Yeah, save page. Okay. That will fix that. That will fix that. Now we come back here. We go push and start pull request. Tooling. All contributors will need VS 17.4 and .NET 7 SDK to compile. Create pull request. There we go. And slap that on. Labels. This gets the release notes on here because this is that probably should be in the release notes. Enable auto merge, enable auto merge. Okay, so that's going to go there. That's going to go there. That's going to clean that out. Why are these PRs still open? Dependabot, you should have noticed that this was close. Go away. You should know that that one's dead now. Close. That one's dead now. Okay. Why did this not... Did I not set auto merge? I did not set auto merge. Well, let's set this one in. Let's go here. This one should go in. This goes here. Squash merge, confirm merge. I would say, Martin? Potentially butchering the Swedish name there. Thank you. I do appreciate all of the... Because he's put in several PRs now in the last few weeks. It is very much appreciated. Okay, so back to here. Refresh. Show me all the things. Okay. This one here, I am very interested in rebasing and retrying because I have a sinking suspicion this isn't a real bug anymore. I do love how the Dependabot automatically just thumbs up when you give it a command. So for anybody who missed it, there's this cool little thing down here in Dependabot where you can give it a whole bunch of various commands to do. You can also explicitly tell it, hey, if you get an update for something that you don't want, you can just tell Dependabot right here. Like, you don't have to go in and edit your Dependabot config in your repo. You can just post a comment and say, hey, Dependabot, knock it off for this major version. Or, hey, I don't care about this dependency. Shut up. Those are all things you can comment. Though you should use these commands and not those words, because these commands will do something. Telling, doing @Dependabot shut up will not actually have any effect. I don't think. I've never tried it. Probably doesn't work. Pretty sure it doesn't work. Okay, so we're going to let that thing rebase and should kick off more GitHub actions doing all the things. Yay! Auto things. Okay, this one here. What is this one here? I'm going to slap a... Waiting on feedback. What is the... Custom tab width button not working? Looks similar to my issue. So what okay, so I'm curious if I should just go and rebase this. So what's going on here? What's going on here? So we got a custom tab derives from view model base. There's a close command, close click. This is all demo apps, so I don't really care that much. But does it work? Details, little details about working and stuffs. Okay, so this was done, and there's white space differences. So pro tip, hide white space, apply, and reload, because I don't really want to look at white space changes. Okay, now we can look at the relevant bits. Let's look at the actual library changes. Is hit test visible false on this rectangle? Ripple assist is disabled, true. I'm a little hesitant to apply these. This appears to be turning off. Okay, I probably need to look at. I believe the background has his test visible on purpose. This prevents the user from getting any visual feedback when they reselect the current tab. It also naturally serves the purpose of showing a background color. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure I actually want this change. So I'm going to put myself as a reviewer on this and block it for the moment. We're going to wait on feedback. If it doesn't get rebased and addressed, it's probably a low priority. But a wrong auto merge. Yeah, so I think what probably happened, Nikolai, for when you rewatch this is I suspect he may have done it, but my change when I put in XAML styler probably caused a lot of pain. Okay. There's that. There's that. There's that. There's that. There's that. Okay. Cool. Speaking of XAML test, I kind of want to kick out a release of this, and I kind of want XAML test to have Net 7 support. So let's go Net 7 some more things. Let's see. So that one got rebased. Oh, hang on. I want to keep that one open because I want to know if that one succeeds. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why did you fail? What did you do? What did you do? Let's see. The namespace. Oh, I did a bad thing. Okay, this is actually good, despite what it may look like. So, and I think I commented on this in one of my prior videos. With Net 7, there are a handful of changes that are breaking-ish. So what Microsoft has said is they are now firing out warnings anytime you create a type that is all lowercase. Effectively, the reason for doing this is they want to be able to introduce contextual keywords in the future that would all be lowercase. However, when you have types that are all lowercase, there are always chances of conflicts. And then you run into this problem of, well, if the type name gets used in the same context as that keyword, there's going to be a problem. Now, on the material design and XAML project, what I did is to make it easy for people to work with, I do not turn on warning as errors because that can be really obnoxious. However, I do turn them on at the pipeline. So you can ignore them locally right up until you go to push. So I'm willing to bet if I look here, no, it's not there. If I rebuild the whole thing, I'm sure when I was building one of those projects, there was probably a warning that came through that I just didn't see. And it probably says something to the effect of, hey, palette only contains lowercase characters. So this is a new warning being issued by the Net 7 SDK. So if you aren't on Net 7, you won't see this. It's also one of those cases where most people probably don't hit it because C# developers usually should be naming their types with Pascal case, first letter capital. So it's usually not a problem to have this. Maybe if somebody was doing camel case in their repo, rarely do I see people do all lowercase. And this is in the resource gen. So this is going to be easy. Yeah, so there is that. And also this, okay, and maybe we fix these errors too, because I don't like these. So worth noting, you'll note that the build only failed because of one of these and not the other one. So the error code actually matters at the point where they trigger, because not all warnings and errors are equal, right? There's a lot of times people log bugs against this library because they see an error in their error list and they assume that their code didn't compile. That's not actually true. The designer, for example, can put errors into this error list, and so the errors go away when you close the XAML the XAML file tab, because that error didn't come from the compiler, it came from the designer. So it's worth noting this error list is a collection. Yeah, we'll go with collection. A collection of errors from a variety of sources, and only the ones from the compiler actually prevent you from building. Now, with that said, generally the compiler is the prime source of injecting errors into this list, which is why people come to that. We're going to clean up this other one too. I should probably just make it go away. Okay, so let's go here. Palette. Why is this thing lowercase? Probably doesn't need to be. One, we're going to file scope that namespace. public. I have a sinking suspicion this is just for serialization purposes. And it probably doesn't even need to be. Let's see. Palettes, generate classes. Where are you? Boom, boom, boom. Class swatches. Yeah. This doesn't need. Okay, so we're just going to rename this. This is an easy change. Because this is actually the name that matters, not this. Technically, I should be decorating these with JSON attributes and all that jazz, but I'll fix that later. Okay, material designs DAML. So this guy here, prefer 32-bit is not. Did it say which target it was building when it generated this warning? It doesn't. So we're just going to do this. Condition. So this one only gets applied if target framework equals net 472. I'll just do this. And I don't even know why we're saying prefer 32-bit. I'm going to leave it for now, but I don't even know if that's... I don't even know if we actually need this. That may have been something that came over in the conversion. Okay, so now if I rebuild, all warnings should be gone. Unable to delete file. Wonder what's holding on to that file lock. Okay, so that should go. I close Fiddler. I don't need Fiddler running anymore. Rebuild all. Cool. Okay, so let's see. Why does this not show a remote? A little weirded out by that. Huh. Let's see. And let's just double check the changes. Conditional. Palette rename. Similar change there. Great. Commit. And then before we push, we're going to rebase this guy onto master. Not that it makes a big difference. Push. Force push. Away we go. Okay, so now let's go back to here. You should now kick off and be happier. Did the other PR work while we were doing that? No, it failed. Interesting. So we might have a XAML test failure that I just am unaware of. So what is the actual failure here? Because this is interesting. Outline button test. So something changed in XAML test where it is unknown error. Interesting. So this guy's choking. What's interesting, though, is it's only choking on the new version of XAML test, which gives me a little bit of information to work with. So rather than futzing with it, we're going to go and update some stuff on it. Okay, so let's go here. Let's go. Do I not even have XAML test open? Oh, that was bad of me. XAML test. Let's go and do some updates. Ooh, what do I got going on here? I got a whole ton of stuff. Oh, did I already start a Net 7 upgrade? Why do I not remember doing this? Apparently I started a Net 7 upgrade. Huh. This looks useful. Let's do it on master though. Boom, boom, boom. Net 7, and away we go. Okay. So we've got a ton of changes in here. Why do you show a bunch of changes? These are all probably good changes. I approve of these changes. So, yeah, I don't remember doing this work. I clearly did. Either that or someone broke into my office and decided to do a bunch of Net 7 upgrades. I'm thinking the more likely explanation is that I just don't remember doing it. Because I'm going to assume that most people who would burgle into my office probably wouldn't do it for the express purpose of upgrading my code. I think. I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Okay, so we're going to do this, and then we're just going to, build and see what happens. Since I don't remember doing this work, I got no idea what state we're in. But the goal was to just update this thing to have a net 7 target. Let's see. Okay, so test app is failing because I set it to both, and this needs to be target frameworks, so we'll fix that. Airless, next. Let's see. Yeah, those are already there. There's a null reference problem here. Deserialize, so the problem is this is a nullable type. Use explicit type. That goes like that. I think what we're going to do is just... I think we're just going to do this. Is data and call it a day. That's easier. It's interesting that I chose to null. Yeah, we're not going to stress too much about that. Did I set like a required? No. Wonder why I was convinced that that was non-nullable. Whatever. Reload projects. Reload faulted projects. Okay. You do that loading. We're going to come back over here. We're going to refresh. How you doing, buddy? How you doing? You just chugging along. Good. Good little GitHub actions. You so happy. You so happy. Okay. I will say, I joked the other day that, so GitHub Copilot is potentially one of my new favoriteest tools of all time. Potentially. It is absolutely amazing to watch it work. But I was joking with some colleagues that I feel like Copilot is a poor name for it because too often it feels like it's in the driver's seat and I'm the one along for the ride. I also really wish that they would do GitHub Copilot for code reviews because it's already writing the code. It might as well check it too because why not? Why not? Okay, so that all worked. That's great. Run all tests. So if all the tests pass, I think we at that point we just check the workflows and make sure they're all good, and then we call it a day. There is a cool thing that I've been wanting to try at some point. So there is a fancy switch you can set on MS Build that I discovered the other day where it will let you compile and cross-target. And I think it would let me compile a WPF app underneath Linux. Now, that does not make WPF run on Linux. There's a big difference between compiling and targeting it and running and targeting it. Those are very different things. Running, yeah, no way. Compiling, though. And the only reason why it got me a little intrigued is I was like, I wonder if I could speed up some build processes by being able to use Linux agents. Because Linux build agents are significantly faster than Windows build agents. Like, it's not even close. Sometimes by a factor of 2. Like, it is absolutely insane to watch it go. What's going on here? I'm surprised that thing's... Oh, it's chugging right along. So XAML test has a lot of tests. And the unfortunate part is because they're effectively UI tests, I probably shouldn't touch my mouse. I kind of have to leave and go hands off for a minute. And as you can see, it spins lots of windows. A lot of windows. But again, if this thing builds and runs, I probably should have just ran it against one target instead of all targets. That would have been smarter. That would have been much smarter. I have seen a number of times where this is one of those libraries where I do run against all targets because there have been a number of bugs that have creeped in that only reproduced under a particular framework. And it was really annoying. Really, really annoying. I did also shelve my WinUI bit on it for a little bit. There's just a couple of things that there's not great APIs for that I don't know how to realistically solve. So I went, ugh, and then I punted. So there was that. Like I plan on coming back to it at some point because I do want a WinUI port of this library. And it is cool. And WinUI is getting better. Come on, little buddy. Keep going. Keep going. Spawn those windows. I do also wonder if there's some potential here for like a XAML test XUnit integration. Because there's a number of things that once you make assumptions about the test runner, you can start to tie in some extra bits to this to make it even faster. Like, for example, one of the things that makes XAML test run really fast is if you limit your calls to new window. Because spinning a window host and starting a new window is expensive. And if you do that on every test, your tests get really slow. But if you can reuse your existing window, because you know that, maybe your test is only testing the contents of it, and you can just swap the contents, you can make your test run a lot quicker because you only spin the host once. And with XUnit, you can do some really fancy stuff with like test lifetime cycle, where I could have a fancy base class that deals with spinning that window host and letting your test just set the contents and move on. And it's like, for the projects where I'm using this, I've tended to do that, where I actually build out the appropriate base classes that I want to use, and then I just work my way through that. Because those base classes tend to be somewhat specific to whatever app is being tested, which is fine, right? I don't mind building those things in. But it'd be kind of cool if I didn't have to. Be kind of nice, actually. I've got all of these ideas. So many ideas. Not enough hours in a day. Not enough Mountain Dews either. So there is an outside chance. So for people outside of the United States, tomorrow is a holiday called Thanksgiving. But from my perspective, it also means that I've got tomorrow and Friday off of work. There's a chance I may do some extra streams. We'll see. No promises. I did do an extra stream last week for those people who caught it on Saturday. Recording's up on YouTube as of this morning. Took me a little while to get it there. Partly because I was streaming on an off day, I did not do my normal setup checks, and it showed. I spent the first 5 minutes talking to a muted microphone, which was exciting. For those who watch the recording on YouTube, I cropped that bit out. If you want to see the fiasco unfold, you can go and watch the recording on Twitch while it's still there. But yeah, that wasn't it. Wasn't my best showing, so I just kind of stopped and restarted. It was very exciting. Come on, XAML test. You're getting there. You're getting there. Some of these tests are really slow. I should look at some of these slow ones. Come on. We just want to do a net 7 thing. As long as there's no major test failures, we're pull requesting this beast and moving right along. Because I've got other libraries that need updates too. Kind of want to click. I really should have moved the Test Explorer onto another monitor where I can watch it, so I actually know what it's doing. Because all I have is the little green bar at the bottom. The one that's right, that I can't quite get my finger to. The one that's right there. And you can see all the test windows slowly just boom, 14 failed tests. That seems unlikely. Okay, and more importantly, they failed on the same. Let me guess. If I just go down to just failed, are they the exact same set of tests? Oh, there's a different set of test failures on 6 versus 7. Well, that's disappointing. So let's see here. What do we got? 1, if I run this in isolation, does it fail? I'm surprised to see any net 6 failures because those ones. Okay, so that one doesn't pass in isolation. This one was a mouse input. Okay, so that one is very possibly just Kevin touching the mouse and breaking. This one here is what? Error communicating with host, failed to connect on all addresses. So this is very likely an issue where remote process is not running. Yeah, so the remote app fails to start. So what is this doing? Let's see. On start remote with custom application construction launches remote app. Oh, see, this is the API I want to kill. So I may not actually want this. Like, this works, but it only works in the most simplistic of cases. So with remote app. So this is likely an issue with where it finds the. Let's just debug this one. I have a feeling this is because we changed the remote app to have multi-targeted and it. What? Visual Studio just doing error? I'm sorry, Visual Studio. What is your problem with me? Okay, so remote app path. Okay, that seems fine. Application type. Let's see. Okay, XAML test app, custom app. Wait. Wait a minute, what? XAML test app, custom app. Why do I not see this type? Call stack, up. Custom app, factory method, new custom value. Where is this thing? Oh, look, it's right there. Okay. So it's doing that. Doing that. Okay. I'm with you so far. It's going to build up the factory method. Great. I'm assuming this guy here is the problem child. Is he probably calls start remote and then chokes. Let's see. This defaults to true already, I believe. But let's turn it on specifically. I'm fairly confident. Yeah, that defaults to true. We don't need that per se. Remote app path, remote process log file. Okay, so this guy here, when he dies, he should have a log file. Let's see. Refresh process list before attempting another attach. Okay. I'm a little curious, but that... let's just see, because it's very possible that the Visual Studio attach bit is no worky. Oh, and this is another one that's worth noting. System drawing is slowly being... It's not deprecated, but it's being flagged as non-cross-plat. So you may end up running into that guy there as well. Oh, dang it. When I run it in there, it's running as net 7. One of the drawbacks of multi-targeting your tests. Oh, the Visual Studio attacher is the problem. Interesting. The plot thickens. Okay, so turn you down to net 6. So if I set you to true, run test, that would so if the Visual Studio attacher is having problems, that would also explain the net 7 failures. Got it. So that failed. But that failed in a different way. If I set you to false, do you magically pass? Because I've got some funky logic in there around if debugger is attached, do different things. Do they fail with .NET CLI if Visual Studio is giving issues? Good questions. They should behave fairly similar on the CLI as running Visual Studio without debugging. Or at least that's been my experience most of the time. So the Visual Studio attacher is probably giving the... Now, so admittedly, this little bit of code I found online and went, oh, really? So I'm not horribly surprised that something's potentially gone off the rails. Like, I'm not too surprised. Like, you'll note there's some stuff in here. This is calm. Yeah, the catch block, the little suppress all the errors. This one here is the thing that's breaking. So I'm curious to get back here. Because if I do debug, I'm willing to bet is because allow Visual Studio debugger attach only does something if this property is true, which it defaults to true, and the debugger is attached to the running test. If there's no debugger attached, we don't bother to do any attaching because there's no debugger there. Why would we bother? But this is basically programmatically doing the equivalent of when you do debug attached to process and attached to another running process. That little bit of code is attempting to do that programmatically. So it tries to find your running Visual Studio instance, then tries to say, hey, Visual Studio, by the way, I spun up this other process. Your debugger should also attach to that process too. That's effectively what it's doing, which in my mind is kind of cool. But I was hoping to get that error again where it shows the refresh the process list before attempting another attach. So it choked out line 50. Why did line 50 give me that error? 50. So would have not even thought about even trying to do that or how to go about doing that, but it does seem kind of cool. Yeah. This is one of those times where when I got it first working, I was a little shocked because I can't claim credit for most of this code. Like I was poking around online to see how I might go about doing it, and I came across somebody else's solution and poached it. So a lot of this code is not by my design. But once I knew it was possible, oh boy. The cat was out of the bag at that point. Does not use hresult or error code that the method returns. This could use, okay. So we got all kinds of potential failures here. I am intrigued that this attach process is what threw. Get attached Visual Studio. So this method, so this wait for is my own poor man's poly, for lack of better words. It does a bunch of retry logic. But it's interesting to me that the error comes from process attach. Which you'll note, this is one of those fun things with COM. You'll note the stack trace says process.attach. Yeah. Yeah, this gets, oh, I guess that's where it comes from. It's because of the using. But you'll note this is an interface, and it's a COM interface. And what could possibly go wrong from a COM interface? So that's the guy who's choking and throwing an exception. I'm kind of wondering if we just do this. Because as exciting as this is, now what are you throwing exactly? Because I'm kind of thinking I just tell it interop COM exception. Oh, so the underlying is the process has been terminated. So we tried to attach to something that was no longer there. So let's catch COM exception. Well, we don't actually need to catch here, is the thing. Like, we shouldn't need to catch here. And the reason I say that is inside of this wait class, you'll note it's invoking and catching and capturing the exception. So it's doing that for me because it's waiting for it to return a true. And when it doesn't get a true, it captures the exception. And so the exception that bubbles up is the last one, which is the process is no longer running. So the application process died. And what I am interested in looking at is wherever that log file is. Remote method name, remote binding, Remote method assembly, debug, log file. I would like to see the contents of this file. So copy, paste, and then IVDOH. Show me your contents. Okay, using factory method. Resource assembly, property of type application cannot be changed after it has been set. Yeah, see, this is the... this is probably why I didn't merge this. Let me look. Is this a new test? I have a sinking suspicion this is a new test. XAML test. This is master. Let's see. So XAML tests. I got a lot of changes in here. So maybe we should look at what all these changes are real quick. Because I have a feeling this is something new that Kevin was trying. And he's combined too many changes into one small thing. There, that's just a bunch of casing, whatever. See, this is what I would really like Copilot Code Reviewer to do, assuming such a thing ever exists, is I'd like to tell it, or I'd like to see it realize that, oh, okay, in this PR, somebody changed the casing of this exception class to this. And me review that once and say, great, show me the next non-that change, and let's move on. Because oftentimes refactoring PRs are the biggest pain in the neck to review, because they tend to be a lot of the same changes with only a few deviations here and there, and that's always painful. So we fixed the nullability one. So that test didn't change. But I'm really tempted to kill it. Because the API is just not great. Because like I said, outside of the most simplistic of cases, it just doesn't work. Let me look. When did I add this? Was this just like one commit back? Okay. Let's find the one where... That's me adding Dependabot auto merging because I was tired of that. Bump, bump, bump. Bump, bump, bump. There's Nikolai's changes. And this is my attempt at getting errors. Because there are some new APIs that will allow you to push those. This is likely the one where that got added. Yeah, and this just doesn't work. I'm really tempted to just straight up revert this. Yeah, let's kill this off because I don't want to fight with this. Okay, so now I have to undo what I did, or at least undo it at the key spots. Internal app.cs. Okay, let's move you. Just got to Google for an updated version of Stack Overflow thread. That may come. I think it's actually probably still working just fine. And the real issue is this with remote bit. Like this is ultimately what's biting me. And the addition of this API is fairly problematic. Let's go here. App options. Yeah, all of this bit. So remote factory method needs to die with remote and all of that stuff. So if I kill this and I kill this, and I kill this, because there were a handful of changes in there that I do want to keep. So I don't want to just blindly revert the commit, but if we start there and then chase the compile errors, that'll lead into most things. I don't know why I have an extra white space there. Yeah, all of that's fine, because as part of doing this, I did end up making a decent number of positive API changes. So let's look at the tests. That's now where it's choking next. On start remote with other application. Let's see. That works, apparently. So we'll let that go. Okay. Chase it. Okay, and this should be... Yeah, I have a feeling that other one's gonna actually cause me some grief here in a minute. And then this needs to go away. Is that other one actually necessary to kill off? It is using the with remote app. Yeah, and that's the kicker. And this is where I want to implement that, but I want to do it with Snoop or the Snoop injector. Oh, and yeah. On start remote, launches remote app. Hang on, how did that other one work? Because that test wasn't part of it. So hang on, I killed too much. So I need to look at the app class here on whatever the heck that used to be. Oh, and apparently options with remote wasn't... Oh, that was a thing. It just needed to look like this. Got it. I burned too much down. Okay. That goes like that. And then we come up to here and we grab this guy and we say, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should actually grab... we should actually grab what the thing used to be. Start remote should look like this. Yeah. Let's see. Goes like that. That goes like that. App options. Oh, did I put that in the wrong place? I did put that in the wrong place. I put that on app, not on app options. Which apparently had it at the bottom below the constructor. Okay. Goes like that. It goes like that. That makes you happy. That makes you happy. Okay. Compile. Great. Okay, so that now builds. That's now happy. Okay, close all of you. Test. Where's Test Explorer? There. Okay, show me all. I kind of want to look at the App test, just those 9 under .NET 6. Let's see what happens. There's no reason those should fail. Because those should be back to pre-bad code. And I'm wondering if that bad code is actually what's causing the material design failure. Okay, so that goes like that. That goes like that. Great, great, great. Okay, so given that, let's run just this set of tests. You'll note there's a 94 tests that I've actually written and like 500 generated tests. So my source generators generate most of the test coverage. And these are the tests where I actually like write interesting bits in them. There you go. Keep going. Okay, so they all passed. There, the window's closed. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Okay, so I think, given that, now I'm more comfortable submitting this. Okay. And then these should all just work. Let's see. Adding net 7 as a target. Let's see, just confirm my branch. Yep. Commit. Push. Submit. And start a pull request. Create pull request. And then view on GitHub. Oh, my other one failed. Enable auto merge. Enable auto merge. Okay, what is your problem now? Huh? I am looking at the latest, right? Yes. Oh, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Hello, GitHub. Be really great if you'd render the output. It's hard for me to see the errors that you aren't rendering. So it choked on some XAML test failures. Or on some UI tests. Cannot create unknown type. This looks like... This looks like there was a string change. Huh? Okay, well, I mean, we should be able to reproduce this pretty easily. So take me to the test. Step 1, reproduce failure. So run test. This should be simple. It should be easy. Please fail locally. Because I'd like to, if you're going to fail where I can see you. Though this is running ye olde version of XAML test. So maybe there is a subtle difference in net 6 versus net 7. Maybe. I mean, I can always downgrade. This is just the UI test project. Like, I can leave this one set to net 6 for now and then rev it after I do the XAML test upgrade. Okay, running. Test host is open. Well, good news. The test host also failed. So the pipeline did its duty and blocked a potentially bad change. Okay, error to create unknown type. What's interesting to me is these curly braces. That is interesting to me. It's like whatever I'm using to build up that string has changed. And that would make me very, very sad. Okay, so. Canceling drawer host. Interesting. So hold on. What was the API call in to get into here? Visual Tree Service. So initialize with material design. This is the call that's choking. There's nothing weird. And it's struggling to create the base theme from this. There's no... Huh? Okay. The air looks funny. The air looks funny. But let's check the... Let's check the XAML. Okay. I mean, I'm no expert, but that XAML looks correct to me. I mean, now that we're using C#11, we can use the new raw string literals, which is cool. We can get rid of some of the bad indenting stuff. The extra spaces around source intrigue me, but those exist down there, and those aren't what caused the failure. It was this line here. Okay, so one, let's clean these up because stop it, go away, Visual Studio. Clean those up. What is the... Why would that start fail? Okay, so hold on. Before we get too carried away, let's real quick confirm our branch. Good. Let's confirm that if we go back, let's make sure that it's this change that's doing it. It probably is. Probably is. Just make uber sure. Right, before I spend time chasing something that may or may not be a diff in the... Oh, I close my test. Okay, so this test works in net 6. At least it worked last time I was here. Because there's a subtle change here where even though I've changed the target, my tooling locally is also different. Okay, so that clearly did something different. I changed this to net 7 and rerun this. Fails. That's bizarre. That's bizarre. Okay. For the meantime, I think the simplest thing is I'm going to do this. Just so that I can get the PR to merge. And then I'm going to chase the bug. Moving UI test back to net 6. Because I am wondering if part of the problem is an unfortunate disjoint between XAML test and the UI test framework. Oh, that could be it, actually. Because when you compile your UI tests, that DLL is targeting net 7. But the XAML test exe that's firing up, oh, that's almost assuredly the problem. I should have a block for that. So if you try to run XAML test, because it's starting up a process and then attaching to itself, it's making the sweeping assumption that the thing running the tests and its host are running on the same version of .NET, which may or may not be true. I should really have a check for that. That should cause an immediate error if you try that. We're going to log that issue. Okay, you go backwards. Hey, you should be building now. There, good. XAML test issues. Flag when framework calling XAML test does not match XAML test. Test assumes that its host starts matches the framework of the tests that are invoking it. This can cause problems for anything that does a callback, such as custom user controls. Because oftentimes what happens is, so normally if all you do is send strings into XAML test, it's perfectly fine with the disjoint. The problem occurs when you say load my custom user control, because what that does is the remote host that XAML test starts tries to load your unit test DLL as an assembly and then create that UI control. So you've got a .NET 6 host reaching into a .NET 7 library and trying to pull out that user control, and your world goes boom. This should fail with a useful message for the user. This occurred when trying to update the DX library to net 7 before updating this library. Got it. So that should be there. Oh, 7 failed here too. Oh, this is a night of failure. Let's see what is going on here. Where is the failure? Error communicating with host process. On start remote launches remote app. I thought I tested this one. Did we not test this one? Or maybe we didn't test it. Oh, this is running net 6. I want to be running net 7. This is app test, so I really just want to run app test. I ran the whole suite of these. Huh? How come that's not showing in my test explorer? Oh, so I reran only the test that passed. So hypothetically, if you have your test explorer set like this, you'll note it shows 1 is green. Great. And if you run the green test stays green. See these 16 failures? Yeah, those might be a problem. Oh boy. Yeah, so there are a number of problems here. Okay, so some of the tests now go green. That's better, but there's clearly some failures. Yeah, and these are going to be a little obnoxious because they are going to end up being things like process isn't running because it crashed. What are these ones? Failed to find element by submenu. I'm curious if these ones were just one-offs. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That's one of the fun things with XAML tests is occasionally you can get issues where things don't quite line up. Get process by ID. Process by ID is not. See, this is under kill. So hold on. What is this test doing? Test recorder with invalid XAML does not rethrow. How does it handle parallel test execution? Great question. It doesn't. And specifically, I don't know of a great way to handle it because it does things like move your mouse cursor around. So it explicitly does not do anything to either block you from parallel execution or allow or handle it in any way. Practically what that means is most of the time when I'm running it, for most apps, I turn off parallel execution because unless you know that your tests don't need to handle keyboard or mouse input, like if you're just writing a test where you want to dump some XAML in and validate that, you know, maybe some triggers work or whatever, great. You could run that test in parallel. But for anything that requires mouse or keyboard input, they just can't run in parallel reasonably. So the XAML test itself doesn't help you nor stop you. But for like the material design and XAML project, I just turn off parallel execution because I don't want to deal with it. And I call it a day. Okay, so why is... So I'm a little confused as to... So this is... Hold on. What exactly happened here? This is expecting a failure. Does not rethrow. Stack trace. Argument exception. Get process by ID. Process with ID. Did get process ID have a behavioral change? I'm wondering if that's the difference. If get process by ID now throws app kill process. Where's my test? Take me there. Get process by ID. If you now throw an exception. Get process by ID. Are you now documented to throw? The process specified by the process ID parameter is not running. So this is documented to throw an argument exception. Is this one documented to throw the same exception? Yep, so this guy can throw an argument exception if the process ID you pass in. Oh, that does not bode well for me. Yes, so that is a possibility. But in this case, the issue is I'm reaching out because there's two processes at play. There's the running host that XAML test starts, and that's the process ID here. So this logic here, where I was getting the process by ID and then checking for has exited, basically, if you pull the... Oh, sucks. So there's a behavioral change. Hang on. I feel like this is documented somewhere. .NET 7 breaking changes. This is documented somewhere. Breaking changes in net 7. And actually, let's go process get process by ID. Uh-oh. Nothing? No. ASP.NET Core. Let's see. Source compatible, binary compatible. I want runtime changes. I guess I guess that's the thing, is I'm searching for this the wrong way. Okay. So this guy here is net 7 examples. Okay. If we just dial this back to 6, I'm feeling like that's a lie. I'm feeling like that's a lie. Where is the link to go view these docs on GitHub? Is that the one to take me there? Yeah, this is what I want. Show me your history, please. Show me. When did this get updated? Because I'm pretty sure that that's also now part of the problem is clarify process. Okay. Let's look at these diffs. If it determines the process event will be raised by the property accessor if it determines that the process has exited. That's great. That's not my use case. The process was not started by this object, was removed. Give me some context here. The following examples, that's not useful, that's not useful, that's not a change I care about. Let's see, where are we here? Oh boy, there's only a couple. I'd like to see this one, please. Supported OS platform. That is not it. Min max value, port documentation, preview 1. Then we're out of net 7. I've got to believe it's in one of these. Okay. System diagnostics. Can I search you? Oh, I can't filter file changes. Whenever GitHub gets around to catching up to me. That is so nice. Okay, that's process, not large diffs are not rendered by default. This does not look good. This does not look good. Oh boy. Okay, so what all did you do in here? Some white space stuff, some white space stuff. A lot of white space stuff. More white space, more white space, lots of white space. Really big white space. Kind of wondering if I should go up and turn off white space changes, because I don't care. Oh, this is a big document. I am looking for something on the right that actually shows as an add or a delete. I guess it'd be on the left if it were a delete. 4,000 lines in, and all's well. Come on. Hello, boy. Peku? Or Peku? Welcome. I am chasing an interesting, what I think is an interesting behavioral change between .NET 6 and .NET 7, where it appears that they changed the behavior of how the process object works, and it's this thing here. So I am from Washington State, United States, so West Coast. West Coast. I shouldn't use the word coast. I'm nowhere near the ocean. The ocean is like 7 hours from me if I'm going fast. Okay, so they did add a bunch of stuff here. Polish. Welcome. So Polish, I'm guessing, what is that? 8 a.m. your time? Or coming up on 8 a.m., give or take. Don't worry about your English. Interesting. Okay, so there is a behavioral change here. System diagnostics. Okay. Start with coding in C#. Excellent. How are you liking it so far? Wow. I have one app console on my GitHub. Sweet. Always a great place to start. Hopefully soon there's app names is stars. I am a technical editor for the Essential C# book series, and so hopefully we have new stuff for that in the not too distant future coming. Wait for exit. So wait for exit changed. Wait for input idle. Interesting. There's stuff around this, but I'm not finding something specifically for it. I do. So my day job is a senior software architect, which roughly translates to I teach and help people to write code throughout the day. And when I can swing it, I try to write code myself. But I do spend a lot of time answering people's questions. Okay, so short version. This going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. So if we go here, 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 like that. Repos, stars. Hey, you've even got a nice profile set up too. Stars SLN. Program CS. And let's take a little look here. Net 6. Cool. So you're at least using some recent stuff. And starting in, even doing console color. Pretty cool. Console clear. Oh, you're even updating and moving the stuff around. Nice. Set cursor position and doing updating. That's pretty good. Nice loop constructs. Cool. No, this looks good. It's good that you're starting off and trying to learn with the new .NET stuff. see, what is the history? 8 days ago. So, this is my very first project. Hey, that's perfect. Everybody has to start somewhere. And as a first project, this is doing pretty good. One thing I did notice immediately is you may want to spend a little bit of time learning about Git and GitHub. Right now, it looks like you're copying your folder to version your app. And there's cleaner ways to do it with Git using things like branches. But as somebody starting out, this works perfectly well. Sometimes you have to do things what I would call the hard way or the long way to learn the benefits of doing them the cleaner way. There's also some other fun things to learn about with Git. Like, for example, you've got your compiled exe tied into here. Yeah, that's the comment from MRX99 too, is git ignore is a great thing to save on doing it. Git does a great job at keeping versions of your text files, so your .cs, but it does a really poor job at managing binary files like your DLL and exe that get compiled. So oftentimes in your repository, anything that can be derived or built from the other stuff, we often don't include in our repository. So you'll note most repositories don't leave their bin or obj inside of here. Yeah, depending on how you built your project, if you're already using the .NET CLI to build these, just on the command line .NET new git ignore will generate you a git ignore file that cleans a lot of this up. And if you are interested, I do have here, shameless self-promotion time. YouTube link coming by in the bottom, right below me. I might recommend this video to you as one option. So if you are interested, oh, Justin Bieber. Yeah, the Learn Git branching is great. I also have a video on doing Git with Git Kraken. So I am heavily biased towards Git Kraken as my tool of choice. I'm one of the Git Kraken ambassadors as well. So the fact that I show it off. But yeah, if you are interested, that's one of the learning ones that I've done. This one here, this is, and it's somewhat dated, but one of the nice parts about Git is old, which means that even old docs are still useful and not a lot has changed. So this is going through a lot of their docs where they've got some nice learning resources, and I believe the links are all still valid on this. I should double check that real quick. Let's double check to make sure. Yeah, so Git Kraken has a pretty cool learning resources built in here. They also have a, where is it? What is it? It's learngitkraken.com. I found this one. Yeah, this one. So learngitkraken.com. They've got an awesome foundations of Git course. So even though they show off their tool, this foundations of Git is all around just understanding how Git works. And most of it's taught with the CLI. So if you don't have Git Kraken, don't worry about it. They may use it in some of the video talks to show and explain concepts because it has a great UI for doing that. But to actually go through this course, you can just do it all from the command line. And they do a really good job of teaching all of the concepts, all the way from the basics up to everything advanced. I wish my company would buy me Git Kraken. Source tree looks like garbage compared to it. I am unfortunately not the right guy to. So I don't know if it'll convince your company, but there was a video I made for Git Kraken. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, GitCon happened, and there's a bunch of videos above it. Yeah, best Git GUIs compared. So, I don't know if that's interesting to anybody, but if you want to see the comparison between some popular Git GUIs, so it was Git Kraken, Source Tree, Fork, Tower, GitHub Desktop, and SmartGit. So, and worth noting, I was comparing the Windows versions of all of these apps. So, for what it's worth, I don't have a Mac, and it would be a little unfair to compare Mac versions. So, because some of these apps, Mac and Windows, are very different. So, now Git Kraken really isn't because it's an Electron app, and it's more or less the same thing on all the platforms. So, good enough. But no, this, for somebody's very first app, this is actually quite good. There's a general thing that in programming, when somebody's starting out, if they figure out the basic concepts of variable assignment, that's often one of the hardest things for people to grok and understand. I shouldn't say grok. It is one of the hardest things for people to understand when they're first starting out. And looking at this, like there's plenty of kind of minor things that I might point out of, well, the double dot parse could go through and fail. You probably don't want to just use blank new lines depending on what platform you're targeting. The console write line is a little cleaner, but those are all kind of nitpicky little things that don't matter that much. Yeah, this is really great. I will point you to Spectre console. So because it looks like you're doing a lot of stuff with the console and trying to make it look pretty, Spectre console is a really great library for that, because you can do console stuff that looks like this and it's really pretty. So Spectre is all about making your console output look gorgeous. It's pretty slick. So it also deals with some of the complexity, like the availability that for like coloring and whatnot that is exposed to you in .NET is very limited. There's something called VT100 that is what consoles from ye olden days, from when I was just a wee tot in diapers, actually leverage for doing things like colors and moving the cursor around. The system.console kind of hides some of that from you, like the console foreground color. It's hiding what it's actually doing under the hood for you. This console class is actually one of the banes of the .NET team. Like, if you ever look at the source code behind it, there are dragons there. It is scary, especially when they went to cross-platform, because when this was written, it was written targeting at Windows and Windows-only idiosyncrasies, and then they went cross-platform and they had to handle the weirdness of all the platforms, and yeah, the complexity blew up. And so it hides a lot of the weirdness from you. But if you actually go down to doing straight VT100 codes, you can do all of this stuff, and Spectre gives you really nice layouts, like even things like this tree view. So you end up writing something that looks like this, and you get a pretty tree that looks like this. And he's even complicating the example with like putting a rounded border with some columns for a table and doing a table inside of a tree view. But for what it's worth, if you are interested in making pretty console apps, Spectre is definitely on the list. There's another project too, and this is probably biting off more than you want to chew. But I'm going to share it anyway because I can't help it. Somebody mentioned console apps, and now I have to talk about console apps. This project here, System Command Line. Again, I'm heavily biased. I'm a contributor to it. Hey, look, there's me. But this is a project from Microsoft that basically makes parsing in your main method. So it's probably not very helpful to you at the moment, because normally people, for their console apps, they'll pass in command line arguments. And so you'll end up setting a string array as part of your main method. The moment you start parsing that string array, things get complicated fast. Like most command line apps, for example, right? Like if I go .NET dash, let's hang on, clear screen. Okay, if I do .NET dash dash help, right? Getting this type of help output and display is fairly common for people. But the moment I say, well, hold on, what, like I see that I've got this .NET add command. If I do .NET add dash dash help, right? Building all of this up and showing, okay, now I'm not looking at the root level command. I'm looking at the add command and show me that information. The moment you start building out command line apps that add that kind of complexity, it gets hard fast, really hard. And so if you find yourself into that situation where you start parsing the string array, take a look at that other library. It'll save you a lot of effort. It can make a lot of things really easy. And specifically, the dragon fruit one makes main methods really simple. I'll just show that off real quick because the dragon fruit sample is probably the simplest thing. So rather than writing a main method with no parameters, with dragon fruit, what you do is you add a NuGet package to system command line dragon fruit, and then you write a main method inside of a program class that just takes in whatever parameters you want, and it does the rest for you, which is pretty slick. And if you put the XML docs on top of it, it'll generate that nice, pretty help output and everything for you, and it's pretty and awesome. And then you get to write a main method that looks like this. And dragon fruit is probably one of the best experiments that we did with system command line because this thing gets received really well. Because this is what a lot of devs, when they're building a simple command line, want to build out. Pretty slick. Okay. So, short version, I've got issues here because I use this method all over the place. Your Blazor repo came in handy. I went full Blazor server for my always running WPF app. It runs a Windows service. Help me add MVVM to it. It is weird that Blazor server lets you call Windows APIs though. It came in handy though, but I need a way to determine. My window popped. Need a way to determine if I'm on the physical machine. Oh, thank you for the follow, and no problem for the help. That is a good question. So I don't know what happens. Are you using Blazor Hybrid when you're running as part of the WPF app? Because you should have access to what is it? Runtime options. What is it? There's a runtime options something or another. Runtime environment. One of these guys has a. There's like a. What am I thinking of? There is a. There is a method that it won't tell you if you're on the physical machine per se, but you can look at your runtime environment or your running framework. That's the word that I'm missing. And normally you would use it for checking, okay, am I on Windows? Am I on Linux? But there's a different runtime for Blazor WASM than for like .NET on the desktop. And I wonder if that check would work. The hard part though is exactly as you say. Blazor lets you do some absolutely ridiculous stuff inside of a browser that feels like it shouldn't be possible. And it's amazing. Absolutely amazing that the Blazor runtime plumbs all that stuff through for you. It's cool. It's just absolutely terrifying that you can now do that kind of thing in a browser really easily with C# and not some weird funky JavaScript stuff. That's a good question. I would probably have to poke around and find out. If you find a solution, I'd be curious to hear what it ends up being. because I don't know of a, like I said, I would be shooting to check the target framework, but that, depending on what you're doing, that may not be sufficient. And I only say that because of things like Blazor Hybrid, where that may not be completely true in all cases. But Blazor Hybrid is a weird animal because it's not just I'm going to embed web content inside of my desktop app. It's I want to run web content natively and please run me differently. It's a weird world we live in. Okay. So I think though for this, I can probably address this in just a handful of lines. Okay, so there's only a few of these. Thank goodness. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to break this guy up. So variable goes above, assignment goes down here, and we go with try, and we move this guy up, and we are going to catch argument exception. And we're just going to actually, so if you put your cursor on the method and press F1, it'll open a browser straight to the method docs, which is just about the best thing ever. Let's see. Thrown when, boom. Okay, so that should be good enough that future Kevin understands what's going on. We're going to set you to null. And that works. So we'll suppress the exception there. And we are going to do the exact same thing here. I feel weird duplicating logic, though. What's going on here? Can this be a do while loop instead? Yep, I don't see why this can't be a do while loop. So we're gonna go do 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 do, and I put the word do in front of it, and I go kaboom, kablooey, and that still works. So it gets the process the first time, and then it loops, waiting for the process. Yeah. Okay, I think this works a little better. Now those things are handled. Let's find the other reference is here. Let's see. Catch. Oh. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm not over catching here. Actually, I don't need to catch this because this will handle it, and this is... This, in my opinion, is a reasonable message for that case. Okay, so that should handle that. Test recorder tests. And so now if we go back to the test explorer, run, you should now pass. Let's see. You can divide virtuals via management, object searcher, search manufacturer, and compare with the names of virtualization providers. Oh, interesting. I apparently can't type code. Try that again. I am going to have to hunt this thing down, though, because this slight behavioral change bothers me. Okay, so that fixed that error. Okay, what are the 4 errors here? Okay, so we still have some fun problems to solve. Okay, a couple of these are dropping off though. Okay, so that makes me feel a little better. It'd make me feel really good if the set of failures was common between these two, which it looks like it is. Let me rerun the app tests here between the two platforms. I just want to confirm I get the same set of failures between each of them. Two fingers off the keyboard, not touching, no touchy, no touchy. Ba-ba. Okay. Okay, 4 failures. Perfect. I should see 4 failures here as well. Okay, this is good. This means that I am no longer fighting a net 7 versus net 6 difference. I'm now just fighting a straight up Kevin is an idiot problem. I can deal with that. Well, maybe. Almost all my Mountain Dew cans are empty. I've got 3 empty cans next to me. Not one of them has dew in it. Okay, take everything I'm going to say with a grain of salt. I am not appropriately caffeinated. And it's after midnight. Okay. So, let's start here. What actually that's not a useful. Which one of you is the easiest error? So when in doubt, when you're fighting errors like this, scroll through your tests, find the one with the easiest error. Let's see. That server's kind of Blazor server is kind of weird though. My understanding is if you have access to full .NET, since everything runs on the server, it also uses SignalR to push updates to the web UI. Seems like a good use case for always running Windows service. I have a WPF client running WebView 2 that clients can use to check on the Windows service and take a look at the queue. Not sure how I'm going to handle notifications and some of the nice things that I had in WPF before. So depending on what version of Windows, you can technically tie into like the Windows Notification Center. I keep meaning to do a stream on actually tying into some of the Windows 10, Windows 11 features because they are available to you. You just have to set your minimum version of Windows to align with whatever API you're after, right? Like you can't use a latest and greatest Windows 11 and then have your minimum framework Windows 10 something. So you can get away with that. Because it's the Windows App SDK that you have to pull in to do it, and it can be a little bit of a pain to build and package your app up with. And by a little bit of pain, I mean it's pain in the neck. It's horrible. The experience is not great. The other thing you can do is if you are I guess the question is if you're in a WPF app, obviously you can take advantage of all the pure WPF stuff and just like pop windows and that kind of thing. But yeah, some of the other notifications once you're inside of browser land, you have to play by browser rules. Okay, so timeout exception. Remote process is not running. So the process died. Process cannot access the file because it is being used by another process. Oh, that's exciting. Hang on. So this didn't... Okay, so the process is dead, but it still held the file handle open? That seems unlikely. Is that the same here? Ah, haha. This is better. Okay, the file handle problem is interesting, but this looks simpler. Create from assembly. Found multiple application types. Got it. So this is likely coming from when Kevin made... What? Oh, the material design one merged. Yay! I was very confused for a second. It's like, I know I said autocomplete, but I wasn't ready. This one, no. This one here, I believe, is where I added in the extra other app, custom app. Yeah, so we want to kill those because those are what are breaking the other side of things. Okay. So those are breaking the other app crashing. Okay, and then a couple compile errors here. Is this a test that got added in that same commit? Probably. Yep. We're just going to burn that test down. Recompile. Great. Now we should have fewer tests, and hopefully these things just work. What? Dependabot's opening PRs. Ah! My email's exploding. Dependabot, what are you doing to me? Stop it. Close that, close that, close that. So that merged. And then, oh, Dependabot isn't opening more PRs. Why is my email exploding? My email must just be delayed. Okay, well, that's fine. That is just fine. Okay, so we still have a couple issues here. And this one is interesting. Include files because it is being used by another process. So let's just clear out this directory really quick. I'm wondering if I'm just getting bit. So the reason I didn't do a build clean is the build clean only deletes files that it knows about. It does not actually dump the directory. Which is both good and bad. There's pros and cons to it. Doesn't behave the way you expect, bad. I'm kind of curious if the process being held open is from the test host. Or if it's legitimately a problem. Okay, so XAML test, create from assembly. Okay, so this thing seems to be... Let's see, so hang on, what did it do? What did it do? So the log here, it hit main line 74. Okay, main 74, create from assembly. Great, chase the rabbit. Next line, inside of there, 163. So create from assembly 163. 163. Include assemblies and path. Great. Chase the rabbit. Test Explorer. Include assemblies there. 14. 14. Include files. Great. Chase the rabbit. Let's see. App domain mixin, line 44. 44. Assemblies add. Great. Let's see here. Assembly resolver. Get assembly name. This is interesting. It's attempting to access... What? This file, XAML test dot what looks like process identifier dot log. And what's a little more interesting, okay, so this is the callback. That'll be the process ID of the unit test runner. I'm really curious to see the logs in here. I'm actually willing to bet that the logs in that file probably match what we're seeing there, but it's claiming it doesn't exist, so that's exciting. Let's see, X. Oh, interesting. What are these? Hang. Interesting. So these are clearly me. But why would... Okay, does this test fail if run in isolation? Let's start with that. Does... Once again, it is trying to get the metadata reader, get assembly name from the assembly. Cannot access log file. Does get, wait. Does get assembly name? No. Why would it? Okay, so hold on. Include files. Get assembly name from file. Assembly file. This guy is choking on some very weird errors. Why is getting the assembly name causing this problem? And why is it only on net 7? So metadata reader, get assembly name. I'm really curious what this is doing. Let's see. Can I jump to... See, that's not decompiled. I want decompiled. Tools, options. Decompile. Enable navigation to decompiled sources. Yes. I would like to go there. Where is the go to button? Go to implementation? No. How do I get to decompiled sources? It's not decompiled. Grumble, grumble, grumble. I want to know why you are trying to search for these things. There has to be a file path change in here. Because the exception is bubbling up. And we're logging an IO exception. It does not work so easily for .NET because of the ref assemblies. Decompiling. Oh. You're right. Ugh. Ugh. Now, part of me wants to just enable .NET source stepping and go for it. And part of me is noting that it's nearly 12:30 in the morning. And I'm not sure which part of me is winning yet. Source.net. Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. That's probably the path of least resistance. As exciting as just debugging into it is. I don't want to think too hard. Assembly name, get assembly name. Give me the string overload. Do it. Gracias. Okay, so we can conclude we didn't hit that. Oh, wow. Hello, callbacks. Yeah, that's exciting. Init get assembly name. Hoy vey. Let's see, metadata reader. Right, so we need to go a step deeper because they... Wow, okay. Okay, guys, really? Yeah, because it did go metadata reader, get assembly name. So they... That is a fun rabbit hole. Yeah, so here's the other thing that I'll point out. They're doing all of this stuff, grabbing a delegate, and this ends up getting inlined. Because you'll note when I look at my stack trace, that's nowhere in the stack trace. Right? I call assembly name get assembly name. That's not there. How deep can the rabbit hole possibly go? Okay. So, next step of the rabbit hole. We know that from there we hit file stream constructor, passing... Well, it's hard to say. This is the file streams constructor with the most parameters, I believe. But given the inlining we just noticed, it could be any of the file streams constructors. So, new file stream. How many new file streams are in here? Exactly one. So we go in through here. Create the stream because create from file. You should do a video on how to read a stack trace. Oh, that could be interesting. I like that idea, Nick. Okay, that's going on the list. That is a great one. I think most of the time I see it covered under things that are teaching people how to do debugging. But dialing in on like the call stack window and how to leverage it, it's probably a very good idea. Okay, so they specifically call file stream on the assembly file. No. That doesn't make sense. Because that would mean either something deeper in the call stack is switching to the log file. Because file stream helpers, choose strategy core, constructor. Yeah, that doesn't... Oh, hang on. Like, their code makes sense. Right? And if I chase the rabbit, I don't doubt that I follow this guy in. Right? File stream helper. I think choose strategy is likely the explanation. Yep, choose strategy because that got inline to choose strategy core. Where is choose strategy core? Buffalo needed. One of these guys is going to be inlined into here. Let's see it. Not seeing it. Interesting. I'm not seeing it in here. Wait, it is file stream helpers choose strategy core, right? File stream helpers choose strategy core. I'm wondering if this isn't updated for net 7. Well, suck. Okay, fine. Hate doing this. GitHub.net. .net. There's no way this is going to be a big repository or anything. Yeah. You could look at Ben Demystifier. That Stack Trace video too. Ooh. Do you have a link to that? Because I might want to check that out. Because I'm not familiar with that one. File stream helpers choose strategy core. File stream. Maybe I should just no. Not what I asked for. I mean, it is what I asked for, but did I not copy it? Not on my buffer. Not on my buffer. I want that method. How many of those could possibly exist inside of the whole of .NET? Wait a minute. Did that thing have a file stream helper Windows? Oh, you are too awesome. Look at that. Okay. Making progress now. Which one did we hit? We hit the one with the Unix create mode. What? There's a Unix create mode parameter on a Windows. Okay. So in a Windows specific class, we have a Unix create mode. Got it. Okay. Who am I to judge? Let's see here. OS file stream strategy. OS file stream strategy. So this is a base class, and I'm willing to bet sync and async are derived classes. Yeah, okay. So let's look here. His constructor. And his so as file stream strategy. Control Shift V multi-buffer at Studio 2. Yes, I tend to use Windows key V just to pick it up for across the whole OS, but yes. Constructor safe file handle open. Am I blind? Oh, there it is. Okay, so here's the only part where it's done something weird. The path passed in went full path. Now that shouldn't do anything. Yeah, that shouldn't do anything. Safe file handle open. Right? There's no way that this thing does anything but exactly what it says. Right? Safe. Let's see. Add that to my project. Wait, safe. Oh, find handle. We want file handle. So it doesn't open. Okay. Chase the bunny rabbit all the way in. A file handle open calls create file. Okay, which is right there in front of us in this file. And that is what ends up throwing. Okay, so you end up throwing. I'm going to go with the interop call here. But there's been nothing that redirects it to a different file path. Because this is the same full path as we passed all the way in. So the question then comes, how the heck is it getting a different file path? I must be passing in something different here. I have to be. Right? Okay, let's chase the rabbit the other direction real quick. We're going to do this. Clear that up. Oh. That's going to do it. Include assemblies in, and it promptly enumerates all files, including the... Oh. The other one must have short-circuited. I bet you there was a short circuit in there before that I was taking advantage of and just didn't know it. So it goes and loads up all of the assemblies that are inside. Okay, so we can make some assumptions. .NET can't make assumptions on things like file extension because they have to be cross-platform. This is a library for testing Windows desktop apps. I can make the assumption on Windows. This guy here is probably our problem. Where, let's see. Or how about let's do file. That's probably better. Path, get extension, and this is going to be the cool part, right? File. Let's go with to lower invariant is .dll or .exe. This is where pattern matching is awesome, right? Because before, without this little or pattern match, you'd have to like put this in a local and store all that. Nah. We just do this. We just do this. Muchos better. Muchos better. Okay, run. Okay, so before, something under the hood must have... So I was passing in that file path. So that explains how we got there. But the old code must have had a short circuit or similar. Okay, so that works. Okay, so anything previously... Yeah, okay. So we can make assumptions on any assembly we care about is going to be a DLL or an exe. Like, technically they could be renamed, but functionally that never happens. Okay, and let's... Okay, that makes me feel much better. Okay, so go here, just check the changes. Dealing with the process bit, dealing with the extension bit, cleaning that up. Okay, removing more of the dual apps from the test app. Handled net 7 exception when process is not running. Handled issue with trying to get assembly name from log files. Okay. So it just happened to be whatever order that thing grabbed in, one of them was going to break. Okay. Show me the PR. I guess I've got it right here too. Refresh. close, 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 close. Okay, hopefully this fixes that, and then we can merge it and call it there, because my sanity is dropping due to a lack of caffeine. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, I think with that, I'm probably going to wrap it up for tonight and hope that this works. If not, I'll be